Hey guys, what's going on? It's Eli, back with another review video. And yes, continuing on, of course, with the MCU and, the Marvel films. And now we've come to the next Thor film, Thor 2, The Dark World. Yes, so Thor the Dark World. Well, I guess it's mutual for this film, and it was kinda rough, people liked it and some people didn't. Like, it wasn't a failure or anything. I mean, it just wasn't that of a good successor, So Thor the Dark World. Well, again, I thought this was pretty good because of what was going on, and of course the characters that we have, and the villain, the main villain, of course, and some sad moments, of course, etc. Chris Hemsworth returning as Thor, Natalie Portman as Jane Foster, Tom Hiddleston as Loki, Kate Dennings, Darcy Lewis, Zachary Levi as Fendrell, if I'm saying the name right. Well, he now takes on the role of that Asgardian after, Josh Dallas. He played the role, but since he moved on to Once Upon a Time, he couldn't continue playing the role. So, and Jamie Alexander as Lady Sif, oh gosh, if I recall, it's him, right? Wait a minute, like, the bearded guy. I almost forget. It's him, right? Yes, it is him. It's Volg, how do you say his name? Volstagg. Yeah, I think that's how you say the name. And of course, and Idris Elba, of course, is Heimdall. My mistake. And Odin, Anthony Hopkins, and Rene Russo as Frigga. So, yeah, and new additional characters, of course, like there's, Chris O'Dowd made an appearance as Richard. I think he was, at one point, Jane's date. And then there was, I almost forgot to mention, Stellan Skarsgård reprises the role of the professor, him. And, and Jonathan Howard, who's in this film now, who plays Ian Boothby, I don't think I'm saying the last name right, but he's alongside with Darcy and Jane, so... and the main villain, the Dark Elf, Malekith. Yeah, I think I said that right. Played by the one and only Christopher Eccleston, who, he best known for being the Ninth Doctor, of course, in Doctor Who. So, yeah. But I thought that this film was pretty good, like, some pretty cool stuff. And this time, Jane comes to Asgard, even, like, questions like who the old man is, Odin. Of course, he says that he's Odin, blah, blah, blah. And there's a good, interactions and such between Jane and Thor's mother, Frigga. And at one point, because as we remember, as we all know, Loki got arrested and is in the in the Asgardian prison. And a sequence between, I remember, like, Loki and Frigga, and, like, Loki shouts, "He's not my father!" referring to Odin, of course, and Frigga then tells him, that I'm not your mother, But the thing is, even though that Loki probably hated his father, Odin, he did love his mother, Frigga. Yeah, so, and of course, and also when, the Dark Elves, they do at one point break in and manage, attack, invade Asgard at one point, and at one point, because Frigga is fighting off the elves, and the Dark Elf, of course, the main Dark Elf, Malekith, he does kill Frigga. It's very emotional, and a funeral service, memorial for Frigga, and Loki being informed about this. And it's kind of funny, because after that, we cut to where we see the professor, and he's you think he's teaching this class or whatever, but it's just this, it's in a, retirement, place for the elders, I guess, and Stan Lee's cameo, can I have my shoe back? It's funny. It's right after the emotional part of, I don't know, I guess, to kind of, cheer up the audience, basically. And the one thing about Thor 2, Odin is one thing that I'm just kind of just gets me on my nerves. Odin is a jerk is a little bit of a jerk in this. Why? It's because, well, he throws Jane in prison basically at some point, and of course Thor and his Asgardian friends, they break out Jane, etc. And even Loki gets out of his prison cell, especially because when Thor visited Loki, it turns out because he went on an entire rampage in his cell after their mother died. And when Loki and Jane do come face to face again, Jane slaps him in the face, and that was for New York. Yeah, true. And don't forget to mention, Loki is changing himself because of the disguises he has. One he disguises himself as Lady Sif, and the other is freaking Chris Evans as Captain America. Yeah, Chris Evans makes a cameo. Well, yeah, that's pretty cool. Even though it's not really Captain America there, it's Loki in disguise as Captain America / Steve Rogers. But still, Chris Evans, making an appearance. Yeah, because even at one point, in the climax or battle in London, they, fighting off the Dark Elves, and even say the technology and equipment that, Jane and Darcy, they have, using it and opening portals, sending Dark Elves or Thor to, from London to where they were, and the same, planet, I guess, where at one point Loki does die, or so we think. Yeah, and also trying to remember, yeah, and some funny stuff going on, with the portals and such, and even say when at one point, Ian, he does save Darcy, and Darcy falls in love with Ian, Thor, because, fighting off the Dark Elf, of course, and at one point he has to take the subway. That's funny. Yeah, I remember, because even Jane has the ability and has the red stone. Oh, yeah. One of the Infinity Stones is in there. What was it? The purple's the power. The space is the blue one. The soul is reality. Yes. Jane has the reality stone in her, and, of course, at one point, she uses it or, uses that power or something. But at one point, of course, the reality stone, killing, Malekith, and, all ends well. And, Thor returning to Asgard, and, he doesn't realize this, because when he's, I guess, saying goodbye to his father, what he doesn't know is that at some point, Loki, of course, is alive, and he disguised himself as Odin. He got rid of Odin somehow, not kill him, but just, anyways, so, yeah, and also one of the end credit scenes, the first one, because I really didn't know about this at first. I don't think anybody of us knew this, understood this. Lady Sif and Volstagg, they meet the Collector, and Benicio del Toro playing, as the Collector. His first appearance in the MCU as the Collector, and his, servant, assistant, whatever, the pink girl. And they bring him one of the Infinity Stones, the Reality Stone, and and the last words he says before that scene finishes, one down, 5 to go, because there's 5 stones. So there, in the total, there's 6 stones. Yeah, so 1 down, 5 to go, of course, because in the past, so far in the past films we've seen in the MCU, we've seen the Power Stone, being the Tesseract, and we've seen the Soul Stone. Was it the Soul Stone? No, it was not the Soul Stone. It was the Mind Stone. That was part of Loki's scepter, and which would go on, which we're going to get to that soon. Avengers Age of Ultron, Vision, blah, blah, blah. So it was in Loki's scepter first, and then it would go into Vision. And so the Reality Stone we've seen in Thor: The Dark World. And then the next stone we would see after, after in the 2 Marvel films, because the Power Stone. So when we get to that. Anyways, and the final end credit scene. Well, Thor returns, and he's reunited with Jane. And actually, fun fact, that was not actually Natalie Portman kissing Chris Hemsworth. It was Chris Hemsworth's wife, because apparently Natalie Portman was unavailable to shoot that. Well, I don't know, because that scene where we see, like, you know, Jane and the others, they're in the apartment, and they see that he's come back, like, when was all that filmed? I don't know. Well, I can understand. And one last shot, because at one point during the battle and, you know, the portals opening, you know, like a monster, you know, whatever it's called, like, comes into London, and it's still there chasing birds. And apparently, because there was an episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. that follows up, you know, that takes place after, you know, the aftermath of Thor: The Dark World. So, yeah. But with all that being said, Thor: The Dark World, I thought it was not that bad, because I thought it was pretty good and decent. You know, I think it was mutual for this film, and it was, I guess, rough. I don't know. But again, it wasn't a failure. It did good, but not as not as a successor, you know. But that is, you know, until Thor would get his next film, and we all know how that turned out. Oh, yes. And until the next Thor film. So, anyway, so to wrap things up, how do I rate, how do I rate Thor: The Dark World, you know? 7 out of 10. 7 out of 10 stars for Thor: The Dark World. I thought it was good, and, you know, you guys let me know what you think of the second Thor film, what you thought of my review, leave comments, and give this review a like as always. So, with all that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed my review of Thor: The Dark World. More reviews coming your way. They're gonna be awesome. Keep looking forward, and I'll see you guys in the next video/review. Take care, peace out, and Avengers Assemble.